Things I hate about MMORPGs. You know what I hate? Pay to win. Like, I want to just be able to play a game where you don't know how much money somebody spent on the game by looking at them or by anything about them being in the game. That's what I want. That's the main thing.
MMORPGs can, at times, be really fun games, banding together with large groups of players doing epic stuff like fighting dragons, sieging cities, and hunting down legendary loot to spike your dopamine. However, as someone that's been covering MMOs on YouTube for the past 8 years, I've realised that a lot of them have similar problems. Oftentimes when I'm doing my first impression pros and cons list, a lot of the cons for one MMO could be directly applied to another MMO, and it's made me realise that there's certain things MMOs do that really piss me off. So today I'm going to have a bit of a rant about all of the things that I hate about MMORPGs. But first, today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is a completely free mobile RPG with over 80 million global players worldwide. The game features top-notch graphics and offers both casual and competitive gaming, where players can collect over 700 unique champions, customize them, fight in-game bosses.
I want to play Raid Shadow Legends without a sponsor. And I want to actually just play the game and see what it's really like. Because I feel like nobody actually knows what the game is like. Nobody has any real idea. It's just that, like, the game's been around for so long and everybody knows about Raid Shadow Legends, but a lot of people have never actually played it, right? Like, you just know, oh, it's probably pay to win, you know, meme game or whatever. I kind of want to actually play the game, non-sponsored, no bullshit, and give it an honest shot.
All compete in real-time battles
just
in
to
the
see
arena.
what happens.
Raid is now increasing its roster of awesome-looking champions with a brand new rarity, Mythical, a step above legendary champions. These new mythical champions have a special new mechanic called Metamorph that allows them to change between two different forms. This transformation grants them a fresh appearance, new abilities, and enhanced skills. Mythical champions are summoned from primal shards, and both of their forms utilize the same gear and skills, so make sure to check out the new update, and if you click my link or scan the QR code on screen, you'll also get a free starter pack with a bunch more in-game loot. And on top of that, if you log into Raid on 7 different days between August 22nd and October 23rd, you'll also get the legendary champion Sun Wukong for free. Click the link in the description below to download Raid Shadow Legends now. Inventory management and tedious looting. One thing that makes me want to instantly quit an MMO.
I hate inventory management as well. It adds no value to a game. So there are games that I think do create a value of inventory management. Rust. Valheim, kind of. And that's about it that I can think of. Oh yeah, Diablo 2. With like the different, like, I think you can get like runes and like buffs you can put in your inventory. Yeah, charms. Yeah, so yeah, that matters.
Is if it becomes quickly obvious that I'll need to spend a significant amount of time sorting through my inventory, whether it be from straight up running out of space after a few minutes of killing mobs, or the game just bombarding me with useless items to fill up my bags that don't really need to exist. Some games do this to sell you more inventory space. Others do it because the devs don't play their own game enough to realise it's an issue. I've played some MMOs where you're also expected to loot every item from each individual mob kill, and I just end up asking myself why. Are the profits...
Well, there's always... No, the reason why is that you have developers that put things into games because they think it's a good idea, and they never listen to any feedback from other people, except people that like 100% are like bought into the game no matter what.
Generated from selling inventory space and pets worth the game being so significantly worse with such design? I'm honestly not sure.
Pets, I think that buying, like if you have a buy to play game like Black Desert and auto looting pets, I don't think that's a big deal. Maybe this is an unpopular take, but like if you have a game that's being continuously developed without people paying for it continuously, I think that a small, like, capped subscription-esque service like the Crystalline Aura and Lost Ark is acceptable. I don't find this to be problematic or bad because I just view it as a softer form of the subscription that WoW has.
Black Desert Online is an example of an MMO where you get so many random event items and useless outdated gear drop that it makes you want to uninstall.
Yeah, BDO's
Lost Ark
really
is
bad at
another
that.
one. Even with the loot filter, your bags are rammed after 2 Chaos Dungeons. Then
Yeah.
you've got to spend time deciding if what's drop is worth selling or not, alongside having to
It's not worth selling. No matter what you get, it's not very good.
constantly have like 2 rows of
it's
your
not good.
inventory constantly filled with battle items. Before adding an item to the game, I wish devs would ask themselves the following questions.
Why?
1. Does this item really need to exist? 2. Could this item be stored in its own separate inventory that the player doesn't need to deal with?
And that is something that Lost Ark does better than any MMO on the market, in my opinion, that at least I've played. Is that Lost Ark's separate inventory system for storing items like gathering items and different types of like random knickknacks and bullshit that you're able to get from islands. I think they do an incredibly great job at that. Like Lost Ark is the best at that I've played at least. But it's the other stuff that's the problem. Consumables is soon. Oh, there you go. Rapport, sailing, islands, yeah, all that stuff is a separate inventory that is created for you. It's great.
And 3, does adding this item take the player out of the gameplay to make a decision as to whether or not the item is useless and needs to be destroyed?
Ooh.
Personally, I hate having to squint my eyes reading and spending time trying to figure out if the stuff in my inventory is useful. This is made easier though when games display an estimated value for the item right from the inventory.
Yeah, that's
or
true.
do some kind of UI pop-up alerting me that I've received a rare drop that I should care about.
You're a winner!
Looting should be a dopamine spike and an exciting moment in an MMO, so games that fuck this up are clearly doing something wrong.
No, I agree.
Having to dig through external sources to search for a build. Let's be honest, almost every MMO nowadays requires that you go to an external website to search for a viable build for your class.
I think that another big problem of this is actually a meta problem that MMOs begin and end game. Because like classic WoW, you have people that do this, but it's probably more intuitive because number one, there's less knobs to turn, but the other reason is that it takes a long time to level up. Whenever it's like Lost Ark, you get the Express, Omega, Super, Mokoko, Fast, Power Pass, and you're going all the way up to 1490. Oh my god! And now you've got to deal with tripods, gems, weapon levels, skill points, fucking enchants, engravings, the fucking skill icon, the things that like empower your skills. You have to deal with the skills itself, the different abilities, how the awakening goes. You have the resources to use the awakenings. And you're learning all of this stuff within a matter of like hours of starting the game. Who the fuck is going to be able to do that? And it's like, yes, Lost Ark has a pretty good job, does a pretty good job at kind of creating like presets. But even the presets are overwhelming. And the problem why this happens is because people are thrown into these end games and these MMOs that begin at max level and they skip everything else. You don't learn through leveling which abilities are useful and which ones play well because you start at max level. That's why it happens. That's a big reason why it happens. It's not the only reason.
MMOs are so imbalanced that not playing a viable build will either get you kicked from groups, not invited, or struggle to clear content. For me, I just want to get into the action as quickly as possible, so if I need to spend a lot of time digging through builds on Google, reading pages upon pages of information, then spend a lot of time in-game actually implementing said build through the UI, or buying 30 different components off the auction house, by the time I'm ready to actually play the game, I'm already annoyed.
Yes.
Why don't more
fucking annoying, it is.
MMOs just do us a favor and implement community voted builds right into the UI, similar to what Dota 2 does?
I actually don't think that's the solution. I think the solution is creating a game that's fulfilling, that teaches players throughout the game. Because I think that, like, how many of you guys have had the experience of whenever you're playing a new game, like, let's say in WoW, you boost a new character and you don't really enjoy the character whenever you boost it, because there's so much new stuff that it's overwhelming. Like you have to take in all of this stuff at the same time, and it takes the enjoyment away from it. Yeah, there's no attachment. You didn't earn these spells. I really don't think it's a good idea. I can see what he's saying, and I think for something like Dota, it makes sense. But for an MMO, I think this is a symptom and not a disease. And the disease is the fact that games started in-game, and players don't have the opportunity to learn progressively as they learn the game in a natural way.
Crafters could receive rewards for getting a certain amount of upvotes, builds would be more up to date, and Fextra Life's legal view botting would be less effective.
My man.
Daily chores and time gates. A mistake we've seen quite a few MMO devs make over the years is implementing daily systems combined with time gates that make players feel like they need to work through a list of chores every day before getting to the content that they actually want to do. I can understand why devs think this way, as
I think that dailies in games are okay. I think the problem is whenever dailies become pseudo mandatory. Like, you basically have to do your dailies on a lot of these characters or a lot of these games because, like, they're like a massive chunk of progress. Like your first 2 Chaos Dungeons or your first 2 Guardians, and this is being changed, right? But like on Lost Ark is a good example of this, or like with WoW, like, you know, getting reputation. The problem is not necessarily, and it's also especially because like it's endless, right? So like for WoW, whenever you're doing your Netherwing dailies, there will be an end to that. You will get your Netherwing Drake, and then you can stop doing them. But the problem is with something like Lost Ark, this is a job that you go to and you never retire.
you want to retain players and give them a reason to log in every day, but from the player's point of view, it makes them burn out of the game way quicker than just having more flexibility.
Yeah, I actually am a big fan of having daily content for players to do. I am not a big fan of creating pseudo-mandatory daily content that forces engagement metrics that have no end in sight to them. Like, for example, the Una's tasks for a lot of the islands in Lost Ark, I think are totally fine because I do them and then they're done. I got the Astray, I was going to say horse, ship in Lost Ark. I have the Astray. And you know what? I don't do the Black Fang daily anymore because I beat it.
What usually happens is players will do the chores for a few weeks, then they'll miss a day, then another, and eventually ask themselves, if I'm spending half of my playtime doing chores that I don't really find fun, then why am I playing in the first place?
I actually think that the psychology is a little bit different, and maybe I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. But for me, the psychology is that I don't want to miss a daily or I'll be behind. And then eventually I miss a daily and I'm behind. And then I think I don't want to keep playing the game. I'm behind. That's my psychology.
Then they quit. This has happened to me with a few MMOs in the past. The first one that comes to mind was Arcade Unchained when it...
No, this is okay because Arcade 2 is going to be great. It's not going to have any pay to win in it at all. It's just going to be great gameplay with no problems.
First released.
Yeah.
The entire endgame progression system was tied to dailies and weeklies that rewarded you with scrolls to upgrade your gear. I did it for a few weeks and very quickly it made me sick of the game despite actually having fun with other content outside of that. Another MMO that made me burn out quite fast with its dailies at
Bro, look who it is. It's Verdass.
Release was Lost Ark. I think I kept up with the daily weekly grind for 2 months, then I took a week off and felt a massive weight off my shoulders. I think most of us have enough daily chores to deal with in the real world, so adding to that list of chores as a game, which is supposed to be an escape...
I think that, again, the problem is that it never ends. You just constantly have this non-stop. You should only feel bad for playing a game because you missed out on fun? Yeah, something like that.
From reality is pretty much always a bad idea. Remember the days when making gold in an MMO was actually something you'd need to think about?
Yeah, now you just pay the money. I mean, it's pretty easy, right? I mean, shit, like what else? Yeah, you need gold? Okay, we'll just spend money. Just spend real money and then you get gold. Problem solved. But do you guys kind of agree with me on that? Like, I think that dailies are okay. The problem is like these endless dailies that never stop. You never have to stop grinding. I think dailies are totally okay, and it's like there's a reason why every game has dailies, right? It's because they work for player engagement. They do. Problem is Koreans put up with that crap and we don't. So Korean MMOs are crap. I don't think you... I think that to an extent, yeah, sure. But, like, you have to remember, like, Koreans are really upset about Lost Ark 2 for the same reasons. They were the ones that were mad. Remember, Smilegate did that whole apology stream in Korean. They didn't do it in English.
Feeling of getting a rare drop and being excited because of how valuable it was, leveling up your crafting and
My mom used to farm those all the time. Oh, you guys probably didn't see it. Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, she used to farm these like fucking crazy. I remember she had the blue one. She would always farm the blue ones because they would sell for the most. Oh my god. And then they had like these eggs, and she would park characters out and log on them every day and farm the eggs on a timer. And she had, like, my mom had the equivalent of, like, this isn't, like, classic WoW and, like, Burning Crusade. She had the equivalent of, like, nowadays, probably, like, 35 million gold. I'm not even kidding. It was insane. It was so much that, like, so, like, I forgot about this. My mom helped me pay for my epic flying mount. Zach, Mikwaribi, she comes over, and she asks Zach, when's your birthday? And he says, oh, it's in, like, you know, some month that was during the school year. And Zach was only down for, you know, the summer vacation. She says, oh, well, you won't be here. I guess I'll just give you your birthday present early. Here, log on. I'm going to pay for your epic flying mount. And she just straight up bought his epic flying mount. And she farmed these like fucking crazy. And it was like nothing, bro. She was just like, it's like she just pulled out some pocket change. She's like, oh, here you go. It's not even a big deal.
Airdrop and being excited because of how valuable.
Jeff used to log on to Cody's account and send Cody's gold that my mom gave Cody to Jeff because Jeff said that it doesn't matter because my mom would just give Cody more gold. And the worst part is that Jeff was right. He was. She'd just give him more.
It was leveling up your crafting and gathering so you could make money consistently, and you'd get little dopamine spikes whenever you saw a rare gatherable resource out in the world. For many MMOs nowadays, this is a thing of the past because they straight up sell you in-game currency on the cash shop. You've got RuneScape's bonds, the WoW token, Lost Ark's gem to gold conversion.
Yeah, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but, you know, can we get an L in the chat for buying gold? Holy fuck. Buying gold with real money. How fucking annoying.
Albion Online's gold to silver conversion, BDO allows you to sell cash shop outfits for raw silver, and the list goes on. Some MMOs claim that providing these services combats real-world trading, but in reality, does it really?
I think it probably does combat real-world trading, but for something like BDO, it doesn't because you can't trade. So, and the prices are fixed on the market. So no, you're just doing it because you can capitalize on it.
Me, if I see that an MMO is willing to undermine the integrity of their game, then I'd be more likely to engage in RMT, as I'd probably be getting way better value from the gold sellers anyway.
Yeah, it's like at that point you're not cheating, you're just playing the game more efficiently.
You could argue that gold selling has always been a thing in MMOs, so why shouldn't devs provide this service themselves? The difference is that...
What a stupid... Anybody that says that, bro, like... I think they should only be allowed to play Raid Shadow Legends. Like, they should not be allowed to play any other game.
For most MMOs, RMT is against the terms of service, so you're basically putting your account at risk. For me, this is enough of a deterrent, so long as it's actually enforced by the devs.
Yeah, so he's not talking about Wrath of the Lich King.
But now that most MMOs sell...
And then you get banned for buying gold, not via WoW token, stupid argument. Well, what he's saying is, like, if you can buy a token, like, basically there are some people that feel like, I don't want to cheat in the game, but if other people can cheat in the game if they're rich, why is it fair? Why is it unfair? Sorry, why? Like, how is it fair that I can't cheat in the game because I have less money? You see what I'm saying? Sorry, it was a little bit confusing at the beginning.
In-game gold is basically put a real-life dollar amount on every activity and item in the game. If you earn more than minimum wage, are you really going to spend 6 hours gathering and crafting to make $2 per hour worth of gold when you could just do an hour of overtime? And
yeah, that's right. So you have people that live in Malaysia. They're the ones farming gold. And then you give them $1, and then they work all day. Problem solved.
Buy your gold instead. Not only does having a dollar amount tied to everything you do in-game take away from the escapism of an MMO, but it also makes vast amounts of the game's content feel completely pointless, and this feeling only gets worse with the more money that you make IRL. If I was broke, I'd probably still want to earn all of my money legitimately because I'd have no other choice.
Yeah.
I'd get to fully enjoy the economy side of a game. But if I'm earning 6 figures, then that side of the game basically doesn't exist if an MMO allows me to buy gold from the cash shop or doesn't punish RMT. So how do you actually...
Primarily, it's punishing RMT. They just don't punish RMT.
Fix this? There's 2 ways. Number
Why did you do an ad for Raid Shadow Legends then? Why are you even asking that? You're in my chat all the time. You know why he did it. He did it for money. It's an advertisement. What do you mean? They're paying him money. How's that even a question? What do you think? How do you feel? You feel smart typing that? What are you doing?
1. Not selling gold on your cash shop, and ban players either permanently or for 6 months who buy gold from RMT websites. Most players won't want to risk losing an account with thousands of hours of time investment. Number 2. Straight up disable player-to-player trading and have an auction house with price limits like Black Desert Online.
I think this is horrible. Any game that disables player trading because they want to reduce RMT, I would rather have player trading in RMT than not have player trading. Like, any time that you don't have trading in a game, and especially because, like, this is the reason why, is like, I go and I think about it like this. I think to myself, I am playing a worse version of the game because the developers don't care enough about it to invest resources into support for the players. And also, like, you can look at PoE. I think PoE is a great example from my perspective. Path of Exile has RMT. I went to a website one time and I was going to buy Exalted Orbs. I decided not to because I remembered that I wasn't a complete fucking bitch. But I thought about it. The truth is, a lot of people do. And I play a lot of PoE leagues. I don't play every single one. I usually do every other one. And I've never had that negatively impact my experience as a player. I bought 1,000 Divine Orbs and killed all PoE bosses in one day. Lamau. Yeah, there you go.
Basically implement BDO's trading system without allowing people to sell cash shop items for silver. Of course, doing this would probably be against the developer's best interest, as they directly profit from selling gold.
They do.
It also doesn't help that it's somehow become quite normalized for MMO devs to sell gold nowadays, so I can't see this issue ever going away. Multiple gear sets. This point kinda ties into my previous points about hating having my time wasted dealing and sorting through items and builds, but some MMOs require that you have multiple gear sets with different stats on them. New Worlds used to be really bad for this, but recently implemented a nice gear set storage system to fix the issue, and World of Warcraft also used to have this issue quite some time ago if you played a hybrid class like Druid, but later made it so changing spec changes your primary stats, which helped fix the issue to some extent.
I think that WoW, what they have now is kind of fine, where, like, you have a lot of gear that swaps back and forth, but in order to get, like, the best trinkets, you've kind of got to get those specifically. I also don't think that having multiple gear sets is inherently a bad thing. For example, I think that the gathering sets in New World are great. I really like them. Like the idea that you have to get like a whole set of gear that helps you gather like mining or to cut trees down more, right? I think this is actually kind of a cool little like meta game. But the problem with New World with the gear sets was like it was the Bane and the Ward gear, right? Because you're farming 4 different sets of gear with the exact same stats except for one stat. I think that's super fucking boring. I do. I hated Ward gear. And I had multiple sets of 625 Ward gear. You needed Corrupted, Lost, Angry Earth, Ancients, and I think there's one more, Humans, from Empyrean Forge. You needed 5 of these fucking things. And Beast. And Beast, too, because they added in the fucking Sandworm. And so you're getting 6 sets of gear that are functionally the same thing. That's what was problematic. Having your, like, weaponsmithing pants, very cool. One of the much cooler things about New World. I like it a lot. Having your Angry Earth pants that are the exact same as your Corrupted pants, except that one says Angry Earth, the other one says Corrupted, not so cool.
You're an MMO that's designed with tons of different stats and multiple gear sets. You need to have some kind of system that makes storing, organizing, and switching between gear sets and builds as painless as possible.
Which, to be fair, New World did do, but I'm not going to actually be fair because they created a problem and then sold you a solution.
Because if this is ignored, it just takes the player out of the gameplay and has them dealing with tedious UI bullshit, as well as overwhelming them whenever they return to the game after a break.
I also think that it really kind of depends on like what the type of gear is. Like, for example, frost resistance gear or nature resistance gear in AQ. You don't really need it. You can play around it. Like with the venom sacks, with different types of absorb potions, etc. The real problem with a lot of these gear sets is like if they are a binary pass-fail mechanism. Like everybody, for example, that was doing, let's say, I'm trying to think of like a good example of this. Weird ass thing outside. Anyway, you said sacks. I did. Neltharion Cloak. Yeah, Neltharion Cloak is actually a great example. Because Neltharion Cloak is a great example of a good type of gear set. Because you can avoid Neltharion. Because what you can do it through 2 different ways, right? You can not stand in front of the boss, or you can get behind the throne when Neltharion comes down. So there is a way to solve the problem.
Quantity over quality questing. Now this is something that almost every MMORPG except for a select few have issues with. The games that do questing well, in my opinion, are RuneScape, Guild Wars 2, and nowadays New World has pretty good questing.
It seems to me like the best quests in the world are the RuneScape quests, from what I understand.
Like MMOs that have quests that take you on an adventure, multiple steps, puzzles, exploration, sometimes with their own self-contained story. What I don't like is going to a quest hub, instantly having my quest log filled with 10 quests. Half of those quests are completed
you have your quest log filled with 10 quests, and you can only have 20 quests in your total quest log, but you're going to 3 different zones, so you have to drop this quest, and like, wait a minute, so are those guys over there or not? Let me try to remember. Yeah, it's just fucking annoying.
By talking to an NPC, and the others are either one-step kill and collect or escort. Sometimes less is more. It'd be better to have 10 quests that are memorable, rewarding, and fulfilling than 100 quests that are completely forgettable. Types of quests that I specifically hate are talk to me quests, escort an NPC who's moving slower than your character's run speed quests, quests where you spend more time running back and forth to hand in the quest than engaging in combat gameplay. Like,
I'm gonna add one thing that I don't like that's kind of related to this. I hate it whenever the exposition of a game is so drawn out that it kills my excitement for playing the game. Because there's like so many dialogues and everything. I remember like Wayfinder and BDO had this, and Cyberpunk didn't. And I really like that about Cyberpunk, that it was like, hey, yo, bitch, there you are. Do it. And, like, it had an exposition. It did. But it wasn't that bad. Like, these long, drawn-out expositions that, like, you're going from 5 minutes of gameplay to 20 minutes of narrative.
90% of the questing in Final Fantasy XIV, and quests that have you standing around for ages waiting for NPCs to talk to each other like in Guild Wars 2. This part was quite a subjective point, but I'm definitely more of a gameplay above all else kind of MMO player. If an MMO has good fundamental gameplay, I don't want to spend too much time reading, waiting around, or pretending to care about the story. I want to be doing the fun stuff, killing monsters, fighting bosses, chasing loot, and working towards completionist rewards. I actually love MMOs where I'm able to watch a stream on the other monitor and still progress. If I have to...
a lot of people that play MMOs want to play them like they're brain-dead zombies that aren't even really entirely alive. Like, this is why every time that you have these MMOs that put this hyper-focus on this super competitive, high-octane, fast reaction content, like, it just starts to really lose people's interest. Most people just want... And it's especially true whenever you've got to have 20 people that do it. So you've got one guy that's watching TV on the other monitor. He didn't see the red zone. Now everybody's dead. Okay, let's do it again. It's insane.
Pay attention to some fully voice-acted NPCs yapping to each other for 10 minutes about the nuances of the current political climate our faction is dealing with, then I start to get annoyed and will say things like, I wish these NPCs would shut the fuck up so I can play the game.
True.
Again, probably an unpopular opinion, but I wanted to get it off my chest.
No, here's the way that you do it. You have it to where the dialogue is occurring while you're doing the combat and the gameplay. The problem is that the dialogue and the exposition cannibalizes the gameplay.
Add-on requirements. Personally, I really dislike MMOs that allow for community add-ons. Why? Because in reality, certain add-ons end up being a requirement to participate in content. And
add-ons, in my opinion, make games worse. I played WoW a long time. I think that WoW is missing a number of really big things because of add-ons. And also it creates another, like, you have to understand. Do you remember the Dr. Disrespect thing? The 7TV, you know, what is that? Like, isn't that some, like, third-party thing? That's the way a lot of people look at add-ons. MMO players are oftentimes boomers. Oh, so you're telling me I gotta download a program on my computer? I gotta download a whole so I gotta download this. I don't know what site this is. Yeah, they're not gonna want to do that just to play a fucking son of a bitch game. Yeah, man. What do you mean I gotta download CurseForge? No, I don't want CurseForge. I want DBM. Bro, how is this so hard? I want Dudley boss mods and recount. Really, guys? I mean, come on. It's just crazy to me that people don't realize this. That, like, it just cuts off Dudley boss mods? Yeah. That's what it is. New MMOs don't have this problem? Yeah, I know.
In some ways, actually take away from the intended gameplay of an MMO. World of Warcraft is a prime example of this. You're basically required to have multiple boss mod add-ons to raid, and they basically just...
Like, look at that, bro. Like, look at, you need a cooldown for every single one of these. Look at this fucking shit. Oh my god. This is obviously a tank cooldown rotation for Algalon. You have to tell, like, so this is... You know what's so funny about this is this tells a completely different story. It tells the story of why you should never have a Death Knight tank Algalon. Because they need to be constantly fucking, like, you need all of these cooldowns on them. You have to put all this stuff on them. Bro, you just have a prot paladin tank Algalon. It's totally fine, and nobody's ever gonna die.
tell you what to do. Every time you come back to the game, you need to update all of your add-ons. You've got massive pop-ups whenever you log in.
Yep.
If the game has an issue that's worthy of critique, you'll get people dismiss your critique because the issue can be solved with an add-on.
What a great
It's just
game.
a mess.
Those were the days. Those were the days.
Also, imagine you're trying to get your friend into an MMO for the first time and you start explaining add-on requirements. It doesn't exactly sound good when you tell them, hey bro, so first you need to install this list of 10 add-ons from a download client which you'll need to create an account for and log into.
Yeah, you have to make an account for CurseForge. I don't want to make an account to download a program to download another program. It's fucking ridiculous.
Keep these add-ons up to date, and also once the add-ons are installed you'll need to customize them with some specific settings. If an MMO genuinely does need add-ons to be playable, then I think it's a sign that the UI designers have more work to do, not something that should be solved by the community with add-ons. Alt-unfriendly MMOs. There's not a whole lot to say about this point other than I really appreciate MMOs that are alt-friendly.
Yeah, BDO does a great job at this. Final Fantasy does an incredible job at this if you consider other jobs as alts functionally, because that's kind of what they are. Yeah, I totally agree.
I think having the ability to play multiple classes extends the longevity of an MMO, gives players more content and allows for more varied gameplay. I dislike MMOs that are designed in a way where you feel stuck playing one class and spec. Usually this is down to some kind of time gate being tied to progression. I remember disliking World of Warcraft Legion at the
Man, remember that, bro? Like, I remember we did this fucking fight. Oh man, dude, this shit was crazy.
Launch of that expansion for this exact reason.
Man.
Thankfully these days WoW is much more alt-friendly. Non-account
yeah, I think these 2 points are like the same point. I was about to say this.
Wide completionism. This kind of ties into my previous point about alt-friendliness, but I hate MMOs that have completionism systems that you're happy to do once, which don't carry over to alt characters. Things like map
Oh shit, sorry.
Completion, hidden item collection, achievements, and so on. Imagine if Lost
Ark... World of Warcraft actually does a really good job at this. Like, the World of Warcraft completionism meta stuff is very good.
Didn't have account-wide progress. You're able to collect all of the Makoko seeds on each character. If you re-roll, you need to get all of the island souls again. You lose all of the horizontal progression skill points. You lose all of your card collection progress.
Oh my god. Bro, he don't even have Light of Salvation 18? Jesus. Bro, he's probably only spent like $5,000 on this game. Yeah, somebody's not getting into a raid. Somebody's not even getting invited to normal mode.
Progress, the game would feel awful. For the most part, I think if something can be account-wide, then it probably should be.
Yeah.
Autoplay, AFK.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that. I think that, like, as many things as possible, like, this is going to be a super controversial take, but I think that World of Warcraft would be better if all gear was account-wide. Do you know why? Because sometimes I want to play a Death Knight, and I think it'd be cool if I could just put my gear on a Death Knight and play a Death Knight. That's why. And that's literally all it is to me. I don't care about, like, any of the other stuff. I earned the gear. It's not like I didn't get the gear. Yeah. Why not?
Gameplay. Thankfully most PC MMOs aren't designed this way, however there's a few Korean MMOs that are quite heavy on the AFK autoplay gameplay.
I will say that for Throne and Liberty, they have completely removed the autoplay astral hunting feature. It will no longer be in the game, And the combat has been completely redesigned. Do you know why? It's because the day that this game went public, NCSoft stock dropped 10%. Money talks.
Black Desert Online is an MMO where you certainly benefit massively from leaving it open 24/7, and I really don't like it. The main reason to AFK in BDO is that closing the game causes your workers to stop working. You can also AFK fish and process for hours at a time too, allowing you to make way more money long term than someone who actually closes the game. Throne and Liberty is another MMO that was supposed to...
I think that it would be okay if you had stuff like that, as long as you could assign your character to effectively behave in a certain way while you're offline. You know, it's kind of like how, you remember in Pokemon, where, like, you could put your Pokemon in, like, the training facility and they would train your Pokemon, and then you'd come back, you'd forget about it, and come back and it's like, oh, what the fuck, he's, like, level 37 now, right? So, the daycare, yeah. Like, that's what you should be able to do to your character whenever you go offline if you want to have a feature like that. Here's my concern about AFK gameplay. Is that if something can be done by autoplay, AFKing, why does it exist? Like, what would happen? Like, what if you just took it out of the game? And that's really what it comes down to, right? Is like, why not just take it out? Like, if only the only thing you have to do for fishing is you just click a button and you fish. Well, shit, like, that's not hard at all. Like, okay, like, why you do it for kids at school? Yeah, like, what is this? Like, it's like you're creating a solution for a problem that, because you need a solution for it, like autoplay, it gives you an indication that maybe what you're trying to solve is something that you should just get rid of entirely. It's also demand it creates on the server. BDO is horrible lag forever because everybody's logged on 24/7. I had that with BDO. I like the idea, like in BDO, I really liked how everybody was online fishing. I actually liked the spectacle of seeing all of the players online fishing. However, I think that the gameplay that it creates is stupid.
Released this year, which was pretty much completely designed around autoplay.
It's like it shouldn't
Thankfully,
even
the
exist.
devs seem to be changing the game quite a bit, and the recent updates to the combat are somewhat promising. The reason I hate autoplay gameplay is that just having it in the game makes it a requirement to keep up with the gear curve.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have to do it.
Additionally, if the game has an extremely high gear ceiling and the majority of progression is designed around AFK, then how is a player who starts playing 6 months post-launch ever supposed to catch up with someone who's been
AFK for 6 months playing the game non-stop
from day one? I think AFK gameplay adds nothing to...
You know what I should do? I should purchase a large amount of stock in like a number of like computer components companies, like you know, like Nvidia. And then I should develop a AAA MMO that has autoplay that is massively graphics intensive, and then make it to where it burns up video cards really fast. That way it creates a need for people to buy more Nvidia cards. You see what I'm saying? Right? It's like you've got the circle of life here. The Primogen, thanks for the raid, man. I appreciate it. What up, boys? Hey, how y'all doing? Fuck, I'd play it. Yeah, true. Yeah, thank you, man.
The game, and only serves as a system in which devs can use to pad player retention stats, or add things to the cash shop to make that AFK grind more convenient and efficient.
Right.
Ugly user interfaces. Not much to be said here, but I hate MMOs where half of the screen is UI, and there's so many different UI windows popping up that I need to interact with that I end up getting lost in menus.
So basically any game, so there is a direct correlation between microtransactions and menus. The more menus a game has, the more microtransactions it's going to have. That's just how it is.
Personally, I like having a nice, clean, minimal user interface with a lot of functionality for customization, especially if I'm playing an MMO with good graphics.
Yeah.
A good UI will display information clearly, not invent pointless systems that don't need to exist in which you purely interact with it via a UI menu, and be easy to navigate. A bad UI will have multiple pop-ups as soon as you log into the game.
Oh, surprise! Did you click on the login reward? Okay, did you click on the seasonal login reward? And did you click on your new player login reward? Okay, good. Now you have to go to your menu and check on all your auctions and go to your inventory. Okay, there's the new player inventory too. And then you have to check on your bank inventory. It's like, what the bro? Like, oh, Fever Time and Lost Ark bonus rewards. Check Mary's shop. Maybe you could spend more money. It's like, bro, I gotta lay down.
Incoherent theme with different colours and animations that distract you from the gameplay, very little customization, no option to hide the UI for screenshots, as well as getting in the way of gameplay, such as not being able to move your character whilst opening the inventory or map.
New world. Do you remember whenever I said you should be able to move while opening your inventory and people said it would ruin the game? Well, it turns out I was right. And you can, in fact, move. It's okay.
Transmog. This is a bit of a hot take, but I kinda miss the days of when transmog wasn't a thing in MMOs. Now, I don't actually hate days of when...
Holy shit, this is the end of Tumus Argaris? Damn. Those were the days, man. This was 35 years ago. So, yeah, I'm okay with transmog, kind of, but I see what he's saying. There is a part of me that wishes a game didn't have transmog. And if there was a game that came out, I think the problem, though, is like a lot of times the sets that you get aren't really that cool. Like, I think having no transmog is great whenever you've got a set like tier 3, right, of like Nax. But it's not so great whenever you've got Throne of Thunder Warrior set.
Transmog wasn't a thing in MMOs. Now, I don't actually hate transmog, but there's definitely pros and cons to its existence.
There are pros and cons, yeah.
Pros: collecting different gear sets from old content keeps that content somewhat relevant in terms of rewards. Transmog as a whole adds content to an MMO.
It does.
It's horizontal progression, and making different transmog sets is fun.
Yeah.
Cons: nowadays you can't look at a player in an MMO and get an accurate...
See, y'all don't remember what he used to be. Back in Burning Crusade, you'd be able to fucking look at that bitch and you would say, he's in PvE gear, let's kill him. You would see some shaman with those blue shoulders. Ah, you're dead. That was special.
Idea of how strong they are purely based off appearance. The existence of transmog also devalues the feeling of getting a cool new piece of endgame loot. You're basically only interested in the stats, unless it just happens to match one of your transmog sets.
Well, it's like the transmog, the best in slot gear becomes the transmog that is considered to be badass. Like, if you see a warrior with pink boots in retail WoW, you're like... okay. But if you see a warrior with pink boots in classic WoW, you're like, oh shit. This guy's a G. Yeah, this guy's a straight up fucking G. Alright, let's go. Yeah, we're gonna be fine.
MMOs with transmog also typically have cosmetic cash shops where you can just pay to look cool regardless of your level, which creates an incentive for devs to make the coolest looking armor be tied to cash shop purchase rather than being earned in-game. When it comes to transmog, I'm 50-50. On one hand, I really enjoy running old content and collecting skins. On the other hand, I think it's really cool that in classic WoW I can just look at another player and instantly see what gear they...
What's this shit? Oh my god, bro, like... I feel like some of the best streams I did, look at that gear. Some of the best streams I did, Amon Signet. You know where Amon Signet is from? It's from a quest in Hellfire Peninsula for Alliance that you get at the Draenei encampment after you go to Honor Hold. And he's tanking a tier 6 raid with it. That's a level 60 quest. I have to say, being able to just instantly look at somebody like this, like, you can tell this guy's a fucking idiot just by looking at him, right? It's so easy. And I think that's amazing.
They have without having to inspect them. At this point, transmog isn't something that you can really take away from MMOs, and it's definitely in the devs' best interest to keep selling skins, with most players being okay with this. But that's it for this video. Obviously a highly subjective one. It is titled Things I Hate About MMORPGs, so I don't expect everyone to agree with me on some of these points, but I think it's a fun discussion regardless. And let me know the stuff that you hate about MMORPGs in the comments below. Help us out with a like for the algorithm gods if you enjoyed the vid. Social media on screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
It was a pretty good video. Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with every single one of these, honestly. I do. I'm trying to think, like, I think the only one that I'm, like, not entirely, like, 100% on is the builds. Because I feel like the builds, the reason why the builds are problematic is because players have to start the game at max level. And I just think that's kind of shitty. That's what Classic WoW does better than, like, almost any other MMO. There's also an illusion of choice. People will take the best build and you'll be excluded from groups if you don't. Well, the reason why, so you have to keep in mind, the reason why people get excluded from groups is because they get punished for not doing so. And that's what causes those things to happen. People, it's very simple logic, right? The harder you punish players, the harder players will work to avoid being punished. And that's why Lost Ark has such bad gatekeeping. That's why Classic WoW has such bad gatekeeping. Because if you have a mistake happen, and, you know, there's like fucking one person that does it wrong, and they waste everybody else's time, what the fuck? Old WoW stats look so simple. I love it. Yes, they were very simple. This is a great video. I was kicked from LFR in Mists of Pandaria for having shit DPS as a rogue, and I realized, shit, I need to learn how to play, and I spent the next few hours practicing with the YouTube rotation. Yeah, and I think that that's what happens, right? Whenever you put people in, like, the randomized groups. Again, randomized group. Like, I'm not even sure if I believe that, because, like, bro, I would AFK in that shit. I'd never get kicked out. I think it's unavoidable, even without hard mistakes. Better players equals faster clear equals saving time even without risking wipes. Of course it's unavoidable, but the spectrum is worse, right? What I'm saying is that having high punishment mechanisms pushes things to that spectrum even more. There's the video. Make sure to give it a like. This is good. I want to read some of these comments here and see what people have to say. MMORPGs I hate is whenever leveling feels like an inconvenience to reach endgame content. True. Daily list is a killer for me. I don't mind grindy rewards, but let me do it at my own pace. Exactly. Biggest problem I have with every newer MMO, that it feels like a game. It feels like an alternate reality instead with the old MMOs. I think that's definitely true. That is why people like Classic WoW. There it is. High punishment's great and terrible. Like all things in life, there's no single way. Oh, you're definitely right. I think that, again, whenever you assign punishment to a group of players based off of what one individual does, it does create a culture of being hyper fucking aggressive with not allowing players to make mistakes and avoiding players that could make a mistake. That's what happens. An extremely underrated feature from AQW, I don't know what that is having one account and equipable classes. Yep, that's something that, what do you call it, Final Fantasy has. Then Classic WoW is really cool to know a player's entire history through a single glance. Yep, that's right, man. That's right. Adventure Quest Worlds. I've never heard of that. Yeah, I think this was such a good video. I hope more MMO developers see stuff like this. There's the video. Pay to win is basically a way to monetize cheating. Yes. You're right. That's exactly what it is.